Welcome, dear listeners, to The Shadow Behind You. I am your host, the unseen narrator who lingers in the dim corners of history, where the veil between the living and the lost grows thin. Tonight we delve into a tale that has slumbered in the archives of the forgotten, a story whispered only in the dead of night when the world holds its breath. Our episode, The Sisters of Harpers Ferry, a chilling tale from 1896. Imagine, if you will, the year 1896. The American frontier has been tamed, or so they say, but in the shadowed valleys of West Virginia, where the Potomac and Shenandoah rivers collide in a turbulent embrace, lies Harpers Ferry, a town etched into the stone of history, its cliffs rising like silent sentinels over waters that have witnessed rebellion, bloodshed, and the unquiet dead. The air here is thick with the residue of the past, smoke from long extinguished fires, echoes of cannon fire from the Civil War, and the lingering scent of iron and regret. It is autumn, the leaves turning to blood red and gold, carpeting the ground like a shroud over buried secrets. The wind carries a chill that seeps into your bones, not just from the approaching winter, but from something deeper, something that watches from the mist-shrouded hills. Harpers Ferry, once a bustling armory town, now slumbers under a pall of quiet desolation. The factories stand silent, their windows like empty eyes staring into the void. The railroad tracks snake through the gorge, carrying ghosts of travelers long gone. In this forsaken place live the Hawthorne sisters, Eliza, the eldest at 28, with hair as dark as raven wings and eyes that hold the storm clouds of unspoken sorrows, Amelia, 25. Fragile as porcelain, her laughter a rare melody that hides a trembling fear, and young Clara, just 19, wild and untamed, with a spirit that dances on the edge of madness. They inhabit the old Hawthorne Manor, a crumbling Victorian edifice perched on the bluffs overlooking the river's confluence. Its turrets pierce the sky like accusing fingers, and its halls creak with the weight of generations. The sisters are the last of their bloodline, descendants of Elijah Hawthorne, a man whose name is etched in the annals of Harpers Ferry's dark history. Elijah was a confidant to John Brown himself, who the abolitionist firebrand, whose raid in 1859 ignited the sparks of the Civil War. But Elijah's involvement went beyond mere sympathy. Rumors persist of secret pacts, hidden tunnels beneath the manor, and artifacts cursed by the blood spilled that fateful night. Our tale begins on a fog-enshrouded evening in October 1896. The sisters gather in the manor's drawing room, the fire crackling fitfully in the hearth, casting elongated shadows that twist like serpents on the walls. Eliza pores over faded letters, her fingers tracing words yellowed by time. Amelia embroiders a sampler, her needle pricking the fabric with mechanical precision, while Clara stares out the window, her breath fogging the glass as she whispers to no one. A knock echoes through the house, sharp, insistent, like the rap of bony knuckles on a coffin lid. The sisters freeze. Visitors are rare in Harpers Ferry after dusk. The townsfolk speak of the manor's curse, of vanishings that plague the Hawthorne line. Eliza rises, her skirts rustling like dry leaves, and approaches the door. The wind howls outside, carrying the distant rumble of the rivers. She opens the door to reveal a stranger, a tall, gaunt man in a threadbare coat, his face obscured by the brim of his hat. Rain drips from his form, pooling on the threshold like dark blood. "I seek shelter," he rasps, his voice a gravelly whisper that sends shivers down their spines. "The storm, it drives me here." Against her better judgment, Eliza invites him in. His name, he claims, is Silas Blackwood, a traveler from the shadowed hills of Appalachia. As he warms by the fire, his eyes, pale and piercing, dart around the room, lingering on the portraits of long, dead hawthorns that line the walls. Their painted gazes seem to follow him, accusatory and cold. That night, as the storm rages, strange occurrences begin. Clara awakens to the sound of footsteps in the attic, pacing relentlessly above her bed. Amelia dreams of drowning in the rivers below, hands pulling her under into inky depths. Eliza finds an old journal in the stranger's satchel, left ajar by accident. Its pages filled with sketches of the manor and cryptic notes about the sisters' inheritance. What inheritance? The Hawthorns were once wealthy, but fortunes dwindled after the war. Whispers in town speak of a hidden treasure from John Brown's raid, gold meant for the uprising, cursed by the hanged man's last breath. But more than gold, there's talk of a relic, a silver locket containing a lock of Brown's hair, imbued with the fury of the unjustly slain. As the stranger's stay extends, the sisters feel an unnatural pull. Silas speaks in riddles, recounting tales of families devoured by their own history, of bloodlines that refuse to die quietly. The air in the manor grows heavier, scented with decay, as if the walls themselves are exhaling long-held breaths. Listen closely, dear audience. Can you hear it? The faint scratching behind the plaster, like nails clawing for release. The sisters dismiss it at first. Old houses settle, they say. But soon, the shadows lengthen unnaturally, pooling in corners where no light dares penetrate. Objects move of their own accord, a candlestick topples, spilling wax like tears, a mirror cracks, reflecting fractured faces that aren't their own. One evening, Clara ventures into the cellar, drawn by a melodic hum that vibrates through the floorboards. There, amid dust, shrouded crates, she finds a hidden door, its lock rusted but yielding to her touch. Beyond lies a tunnel, dank and echoing, stretching into the earth toward the rivers. The walls are inscribed with symbols, abolitionist codes, perhaps, or something older, pagan runes invoking spirits of the oppressed. As she explores, a whisper slithers through the dark. The blood calls. Clara flees, but not before glimpsing a figure at the tunnel's end, a spectral form in tattered uniform, eyes glowing with unearthly fire. The stranger, Silas, confronts her upon return. "You've awakened it," he murmurs, his smile a slash of white in the gloom. "The shadow behind you. It hungers for the sisters." What is this shadow? A curse born from Elijah Hawthorne's betrayal. Legend holds that Elijah, fearing capture, hid Brown's relics but betrayed comrades to save his skin. Their ghosts, unbound, seek vengeance on his descendants. Tension mounts as Amelia falls ill, her skin paling to translucence, veins mapping blue rivers beneath. She speaks in tongues during fevered dreams, recounting visions of hangings on the bluffs, bodies swaying like pendulums in the wind. Eliza, ever the protector, delves into family lore, unearthing diaries that speak of previous vanishings, aunts and cousins who wandered into the night, never to return. The pattern repeats every generation, tied to the river's flood cycles, when waters rise like vengeful tides. Silas reveals fragments of his purpose. He is no mere traveler, but a seeker of cursed artifacts, drawn by the locket's pull. "It binds the dead," he confides. "Destroy it and free your line, or wield it and command the shadows." But trust erodes. Is Silas ally or harbinger? His presence coincides with escalating hauntings, doors slamming in empty halls, laughter echoing from sealed rooms, and footprints, wet and muddy, trailing upstairs from the cellar. As the full moon rises over Harpers Ferry, casting silver light on the churning waters, the sisters confront their fate. Clara, defiant, proposes they seek the locket in the tunnels. Amelia, weakened but resolute, agrees. Eliza, skeptical yet desperate, leads the way. They descend into the earth, lanterns flickering like dying stars. The air grows colder, laced with the metallic tang of blood and river mud. Whispers multiply, coalescing into voices, accusations, pleas, laments of the betrayed. At the tunnel's heart, they find it a chamber hewn from rock, altars strewn with relics. The locket gleams on a pedestal, pulsing with inner light. As Eliza reaches for it, the shadows converge, ethereal forms materializing, faces twisted in agony. Silas appears from the darkness, his true nature revealed, a descendant of those betrayed by Elijah, bound by the curse to enact revenge. The sisters must pay, he intones, his voice merging with the chorus of the dead. A struggle ensues, lanterns shattering, plunging them into abyss. Clara fights with feral strength, Amelia chants forgotten words from the diaries, and Eliza grasps the locket, its power surging through her. In the chaos, visions assault them: John Brown's fiery eyes, the raid's carnage, Elijah's treachery. The rivers roar above, threatening to flood the tunnels, washing away sins. Will the sisters break the curse, or become its next victims? The shadow behind them lengthens, Hungry, that, dear listeners, is but the hook. Stay with us as we plunge deeper into this chilling tale from 1896, where the past refuses to stay buried. So word count of approximately Vosenbra's transition, eerie music swells, fading into narrative voice. Now, let us unfold the main narrative part. I picture the scene in New Harpers Ferry in the waning days of October 1896. The town clings to the cliffs like a barnacle on a shipwreck. Its streets narrow and winding, paved with cobblestones worn smooth by countless feet, soldiers, slaves, seekers of fortune. The armory ruins stand, as skeletal reminders of glory faded, where once muskets were forged for a nation tearing itself apart. The Hawthorne sisters have lived in isolation since their parents' untimely deaths 5 years prior. A carriage accident on the treacherous roads, or so the official report claims. Whispers suggest otherwise, a midnight plunge into the Potomac, drawn by unseen hands. Eliza, the steadfast guardian, manages the dwindling estate, her days filled with ledgers and letters to distant relatives who never respond. She is a woman of sharp intellect, her mind a fortress against the encroaching madness of their lineage. Amelia, the middle sister, tends the garden, though in autumn it yields only withered vines and thorny roses that prick her fingers, drawing beads of blood. She is delicate, prone to fainting spells, her dreams haunted by water, always water, closing over her head, filling her lungs with icy despair. Clara, the youngest, roams the hills, collecting oddities, river, smoothed stones, feathers from crows that circle the manor like omens. Or she speaks to animals, or so she claims, and her eyes hold a feral gleam that unnerves the townsfolk. They cross the street when she approaches, muttering about, Hawthorne blood running thin. The manor itself is a character in this tale, alive with secrets. Built in 1820 by Elijah's grandfather, it boasts hidden passages, remnants of Underground Railroad days, where runaway slaves found fleeting sanctuary. But sanctuary turned to tomb for some, their spirits lingering in the walls. On that fateful evening, as the storm gathers, the knock comes. Silas Blackwood enters, shaking rain from his coat like a dog emerging from the depths. His features are angular, etched by hardship, high cheekbones, a scar tracing his jaw like a lightning bolt. He claims to be a historian, researching the raid, drawn to Harpers Ferry by archival breadcrumbs. The sisters offer hospitality, though wariness flickers in their eyes. Over supper, simple fare of bread, cheese, and river-caught fish, Silas spins yarns. "Your ancestor, Elijah," he says, leaning forward. Firelight dancing in his pupils, was more than a sympathizer. He smuggled weapons through these very tunnels, but when the noose tightened, he named names to save his neck. Eliza scoffs. Family legend paints him a hero. But legends lie. Silas counters, his voice a silken thread. The betrayed cursed him. May your bloodline vanish into the shadows one by one. That night the disturbances begin subtly. Clara, in her attic room, hears the pacing slow, deliberate steps, as if someone measures the space for a grave. She lights a candle, but the flame gutters in an unfelt draught, revealing nothing but dust motes swirling like specters. Amelia, in the east wing, awakens gasping, her nightgown soaked as if dredged from the river. In her dream, she stood on the bluffs, arms outstretched, pulled by invisible strings toward the abyss. Eliza, ever vigilant, patrols the halls, finding Silas's door ajar. Inside, his satchel spills papers, maps of the manor, notes on the locket's power to bind souls. Morning brings unease. The sisters confer in the kitchen, steam rising from tea like ghosts ascending. "He's trouble," Clara insists, her fingers twitching as if grasping a knife. But what if he knows the truth? Amelia whispers, her hands trembling. Eliza decides they will probe him gently, uncover his intent. As days pass, Silas ingratiates himself, helping with chores, repairing a leaky roof, sharing stories that captivate. Yet anomalies mount. A portrait of Elijah tilts askew overnight, his painted eyes now seeming to weep. The cellar door, long locked, swings open, exhaling chill air scented with mold and something metallic. Blood. Clara, emboldened, explores the cellar alone. Cobwebs drape like veils, crates hold forgotten heirlooms, rusted shackles from slave days, yellowed newspapers heralding Brown's execution. The hidden door beckons. It's wood-warped by moisture. She prays it open, lantern in hand, descending into the tunnel. The passage is narrow, earth walls oozing water that drips rhythmically like a heartbeat. Graffiti adorns the stone names of the escaped, dates from the 1850s, and stranger symbols, circles intersected by lines, evoking wards against evil. Deeper in, the hum begins a low vibration, resonating in her chest. It draws her to a fork, where a side chamber reveals bones, human, scattered as if in hasty burial. A whisper, "Sister, join us." She flees heart-pounding, emerging to find Silas waiting. Curiosity kills, he says, but his tone holds amusement, not rebuke. That evening, Amelia collapses during dinner, convulsing. Her eyes roll back, voice not her own. The rivers rise. The debt is due. Eliza administers laudanum, but fear grips her. She confronts Silas. "What have you brought upon us?" He smiles enigmatically. "Not I, but your blood." The curse awakens. Night falls heavier now, stars obscured by clouds. Clara dreams of the bones assembling, forming figures that dance in macabre revelry. Amelia hears singing from the rivers, siren calls promising peace in the depths. Eliza uncovers a diary in the library, Elijah's own, confessing his betrayal. "I gave them up to the hangman," he wrote, "but their shades pursue me. The locket holds them at bay, hidden where waters meet. The confluence, the rivers join, the tunnels lead there. As the week ends, a flood warning sounds, rains swell the Potomac waters lapping at the bluffs. The manor groans, as if straining against the pull. Silas proposes a ritual, retrieve the locket, break it under moonlight, and sever the tie. But doubt seeds, is he guiding or goading? The sisters, bound by blood, prepare to venture forth, unaware the true horror awaits in the depths. The main narrative deepens our descent into dread. The sisters, now ensnared by Silas's web, steel themselves for the tunnels. October bleeds into November, the air crisp with frost that glitters like shattered glass on the ground. Harpers Ferry huddles against the wind, lanterns in windows flickering like wary eyes. Eliza, lantern in hand, leads the way down the cellar stairs, Amelia clutching a rosary, though their family faith lapsed long ago, and Clara armed with a poker, her face set in grim determination. Silas follows, his satchel slung over shoulder, contents clinking mysteriously. The tunnel entrance yawns like a maw, exhaling fated breath. They step in, feet squelching in mud, the ceiling low enough to brush their heads. Water trickles down walls, pooling in depressions that reflect their distorted faces. As they progress, the whispers intensify, fragments of conversations from another era. The arsenal falls, Brown's men hold. "Traitor!" Amelia stumbles, her hand grazing the wall. Visions assault her, men in chains. Marching through these passages, hope flickering like their torches. Then, betrayal. Soldiers bursting in, Elijah pointing accusatory fingers. "Steady," Eliza murmurs, though her voice wavers. Deeper the path branches. Silas consults a map from his notes, left toward the confluence. But Clara senses deceit. "Why trust you?" she hisses. His eyes gleam in the lantern light. "Because without me, the shadows consume you." A sudden gust extinguishes two lanterns, plunging them into semi-darkness. Shapes move in the periphery. Ethereal hands reaching, cold fingers brushing skin. They relight, pressing on. The hum returns, louder, vibrating bones. At the chamber, relics gleam, rusted rifles, faded flags, and the pedestal with the locket, an ornate silver piece, engraved with a noose motif. Eliza lifts it, chain cold as ice. Power surges, visions of Brown's hanging. His prophecy, "I am now quite certain that the crimes of this guilty land will never be purged away but with blood." Echoing. The shadows coalesce, ghosts materialize, faces gaunt, eyes burning with rage. "Hawthorne blood," they chorus. Silas laughs, transforming, his form shifting, revealing spectral translucence. "I am their vessel," he declares. Descendant of the hanged, bound to exact toll. He lunges for the locket, but Clara strikes with the poker, passing through him like mist. The ghosts advance, pulling at Amelia, who screams as icy grips drag her toward a crevice where water rushes. Eliza, clutching the locket, chants from the diary, words of binding, Elijah's desperate incantation. The chamber shakes, rocks crumbling as the rivers breach above, flooding in. Chaos. Sisters clinging together, ghosts swirling in the torrent. Clara grabs a relic, a dagger from the raid, and stabs at Silas's core, where a faint heart pulses. He howls, dissipating, but the flood surges. They flee, locket in hand, tunnels collapsing behind. Emerging, gasping into the manor cellar, waters rising. Outside, the storm peaks, rivers overflowing, town evacuating. The sisters barricade, but ghosts persist, pounding on doors, windows shattering. In desperation, under moonlight filtering through clouds, Eliza smashes the locket on the hearth. A wail erupts, shadows wreathing, then vanishing like smoke. Silence falls, broken only by receding waters. But is it over? Amelia's eyes hold a new shadow. Clara hears whispers still. Eliza buries the fragments, but the curse lingers, waiting for the next generation. The sisters vanish from records shortly after. Did they flee, or were they claimed? Harpers Ferry forgets, but the rivers remember. To lend authenticity to our chilling tale, let us explore the historical and cultural context of Harpers Ferry in 1896, blending fact with the eerie folklore that shrouds this enigmatic town. Harpers Ferry, nestled at the confluence of the Potomac and Shenandoah rivers in what is now West Virginia, has long been a crossroads of American history, a place where the currents of destiny collide with violent force. Founded in the late 18th century, the town owed its early prosperity to the United States Armory and Arsenal, established in 1799 at the behest of President George Washington. The site's strategic location, harnessed by water power from the rivers, made it ideal for manufacturing firearms. By the mid-19th century, it produced thousands of muskets and rifles annually, arming the nation during conflicts like the War of 1812 and the Mexican-American War. But it was John Brown's raid in October 1859 that etched Harpers Ferry into the annals of infamy. Brown, a fervent abolitionist, believed in armed insurrection to end slavery. With a band of 21 men, including free blacks and his sons, he seized the armory, hoping to arm enslaved people and spark a widespread revolt. The plan faltered. Local militia and U.S. Marines under Robert E. Lee quelled the uprising. Brown was captured, tried for treason, and hanged on December 2, 1859, in nearby Charlestown. His execution became a martyr's pyre, fueling sectional tensions that erupted into the Civil War. Brown's last words, prophesying bloodshed to purge the land's sins, echoed like a curse. Harpers Ferry changed hands multiple times during the war, its armory destroyed, leaving ruins that stand today as haunting monuments. By 1896, the town was a shadow of its former self. Reconstruction had come and gone, but economic stagnation lingered. The armory never fully recovered. Floods in 1889 devastated the area, washing away buildings and livelihoods. The population dwindled, many fleeing to industrial centers. Those who remained clung to agriculture, small trades, and the nascent tourism drawn by the site's historical allure. Culturally, Harpers Ferry was steeped in Appalachian folklore, a melting pot of European, African, and Native American influences. The Shawnee and other tribes once inhabited the region, leaving legends of spirits guarding sacred confluences, where rivers meet, symbolizing life and death's intersection. European settlers brought tales of witches and curses, while enslaved Africans contributed stories of haunts, restless ghosts seeking justice. The Underground Railroad thrived here, with hidden tunnels and safe houses aiding escapes. But betrayal was rife, informants lurked, leading to captures and executions. Folklore speaks of river ghosts, souls of drowned runaways, luring the living to watery graves as vengeance. In 1896, spiritualism was in vogue, with seances and mediums communing with the dead. Harpers Ferry, with its bloody past, attracted occult enthusiasts. Reports of hauntings abounded, apparitions on the bluffs, phantom gunfire echoing at night, and shadowy figures in the armory ruins. The Hawthorne family, while fictionalized here, draws from real archetypes. Many families traced lineage to raid participants, some harboring secrets, hidden artifacts, suppressed guilt. Cursed bloodlines feature in local lore, aid descendants plagued by misfortune, vanishings attributed to supernatural retribution. Floods recurrent in Harpers Ferry amplify the eerie. The 1889 Johnstown floods horror resonated, but local inundations carried mythic weight. waters rising to clean sins, dragging the unworthy below. Appalachian culture emphasized oral storytelling, with ballads recounting tragedies. Songs like John Brown's Body evolved into anthems, but darker variants whispered of his unquiet spirit roaming the hills. Economically, 1896 saw the Panic of 1893's aftermath, with poverty breeding desperation. Strangers like sealers, itinerant historians, or charlatans were common, peddling tales or seeking lost treasures. Rumors of Brown's hidden gold persisted, luring treasure hunters to tunnels real and imagined. Religiously, the area blended Protestant fervor with folk superstitions. Curses, often invoked in moments of betrayal, were taken seriously. Wards like silver amulets or runes carved for protection. In blending fact and folklore, our tale gains unsettling authenticity. The sisters' plight mirrors universal themes' legacy of violence, unaddressed injustices haunting descendants. Harpers Ferry stands as a liminal space where history's shadows lengthen, inviting the supernatural to intrude. Consider the real vanishings in the late 19th century. Disappearances in remote areas were common, attributed to accidents, foul play, or the uncanny. The rivers claimed many bodies never recovered, fueling ghost stories. Cultural trauma from slavery and war permeated society. PTSD-like symptoms in veterans manifested as hauntings, psychological echoes blurring with folklore. Thus, the Sisters of Harpers Ferry weaves into this tapestry a chilling reminder that history is not buried but lurks, waiting to ensnare the unwary. Delving deeper, let us analyze the symbolic and psychological layers of our tale, exploring how it connects to universal fears, cultural trauma, and the darker facets of human nature. The Sisters of Harpers Ferry is more than a ghost story. It is a mirror reflecting the abyss within us all, where inherited sins fester and the past devours the present. Symbolically, the confluence of rivers represents convergence of histories, fates, and the conscious with the subconscious. In Jungian terms, waters symbolize the collective unconscious, a repository of archetypes and repressed memories. The sisters' descent into tunnels mirrors a journey into the psyche's depths, confronting shadows, literally and figuratively, that embody unresolved guilt. The locket, as a relic, symbolizes bound trauma. Containing Brown's hair, it encapsulates the fury of injustice, a talisman chaining ghosts to the living. Smashing it signifies catharsis, yet fragments linger, suggesting trauma's persistence. This echoes intergenerational trauma, where descendants inherit psychological scars from ancestors' experiences, as studied in epigenetics, stress-altering gene expression across generations. Psychologically, each sister embodies facets of the human response to dread. Elisa, the rational protector, represents denial and control, suppressing emotions until they erupt. Her arc highlights cognitive dissonance, clinging to logic amid the irrational. Amelia, fragile and visionary, personifies vulnerability to suggestion. Her fevers akin to hysterical illnesses prevalent in Victorian women, repressed desires manifesting somatically. Her water dreams evoke Thanatos, Froude's death drive, pulling toward oblivion as escape from pain. Clara, wild and intuitive, embodies the id, primal instincts unchecked. Her defiance against Silas underscores rebellion against patriarchal legacies as the curse stems from male betrayal. Silas, the antagonist, symbolizes the return of the repressed. As a vessel for vengeful spirits, he personifies karma or nemesis, forcing confrontation with buried sins. His shape-shifting reveals identity's fluidity, how trauma distorts self-perception. Thematically, the story taps universal fierce isolation, as the sisters' seclusion amplifies vulnerability, the uncanny, where familiar, the manner becomes hostile, and legacies burden, where bloodlines curse rather than bless. Connecting to cultural trauma, Harper's Ferry embodies America's original sin, slavery and its violent abolition. Brown's raid, a flashpoint, highlights moral absolutism's cost. The curse reflects white guilt, descendants paying for forebears' complicity. In a post-Reconstruction era, lynchings and disenfranchisement perpetuated cycles of violence, mirroring the ghost's unrest. Human nature's dark side emerges in betrayal, Elijah's self-preservation over solidarity, a Hobbesian view of survival. Yet solidarity among sisters offers redemption, Sisterhood countering patriarchal division. Ominously, the tale probes existential dread. Are we puppets of history, doomed to repeat? The lingering whispers post-climax suggest no clean resolution. Trauma evolves, haunting anew. Intellectually, it critiques spiritualism's allure in the Gilded Age, seeking meaning in chaos, often exploited by charlatans like Silas. Psychologically, hauntings as projections of guilt align with modern therapy. Facing shadows integrates the self. Universally, it evokes fear of the unknown, death, the afterlife, judgment. The river's flood symbolizes nature's indifference, washing away human pretensions. In essence, the Sisters of Harpers Ferry unearths the terror that our shadows, personal, familial, cultural, are not behind us but within, waiting for the storm to awaken them. As we draw the curtains on this episode of The Shadow Behind You, let the echoes of Harper's Ferry linger in your mind like mist on the rivers. We have journeyed through the chilling tale of the Hawthorne sisters, unraveling a web of curses, betrayals, and spectral vengeance from 1896. The manor stands silent now in our imagination, its windows dark, but the shadows within stir eternally. Reflect on Eliza, Amelia, and Clara, their bond tested by the inexorable pull of history. Did they truly break the curse, or merely delay its hunger? The smashed locket's fragments, buried in sodden earth, may yet pulse with unresolved rage, awaiting the next flood to resurface. Harper's Ferry endures, a testament to America's haunted soul, where the confluence of waters mirrors the merging of fact and phantom. Walk its streets today, and you might feel the chill. The whisper of wind carrying names long forgotten, the distant rumble not thunder, but the march of unquiet dead. Dear listeners, remember the past is not a distant shore, but a current beneath our feet, ready to drag us under. In your quiet moments, when the night presses close, listen for the footsteps behind you. Is it merely the house settling, or something older, hungrier? Until next time, keep the light close, for the shadow behind you grows longer.